On my trip to Japan last year, I decided to shoot all of my analog work in Tokyo on a single film stock, which was Cinestill 800T. And for my most recent trip to the UK last month, I decided to do the same. But this trip to the UK was different in a few ways. I was only there for 9 days as opposed to the 3 weeks that I spent in Tokyo. The gear that I used was different, and of course, the cities that I photographed were very different. So back in December, I approached my lab, which is Gelatin Labs, with the idea of doing another one of these Cinestill only trips, and they were kind enough to provide me with 10 rolls of 800T. And there is one little caveat to this whole video, this whole theme, and that is that I did end up bringing 5 rolls of Portra 400 with me. And so yeah, that kind of voids the whole idea of this being a Cinestill only trip, but I will get into my reasons for that in a bit. So anyways, I decided to mainly stick to 800T for a few reasons, and I think the biggest one being that it is winter in London and the sun sets at 4 p.m. every day, so I did want a faster speed film. And I also know that, winter in the UK is typically very gloomy and overcast, and I thought that the tungsten balance of 800T would complement those conditions nicely. So at the beginning of the trip, we got really lucky with 2 full days of sun. They were very unexpected, but it was for that possibility that I brought rolls of Portra 400 as well, and I shot 2 of the rolls on one of those sunny days, but for every other day of the trip, I stuck to 800T. So out of the 10 Cinestill rolls that I had, I was able to get through 8 of them, and that was split between our time in London, as well as a 2-day trip down to the coast near Brighton and Seven Sisters. The biggest difference between this trip and the trip to Japan was honestly just time. I had way less time on this trip to shoot basically the same amount of rolls. Therefore, I didn't have the luxury to be as selective as I probably would have liked to be in the photos that I took. And obviously, because I knew I had less time to shoot, I had to kind of shoot a little bit faster than I normally would. And for that reason, I came away with fewer keepers than I did in Japan. So all the photos were taken on my Leica M6 with 4 different lenses. I would say that the M6 is still relatively new to me. At this point, I'd only had it for about 2 months, and I had quite a bit of underexposed shots, and that could possibly be user error, and it most likely is, but I think I'm also still getting a feel for how the light meter on the M6 operates. Because it is a semi-spot meter, in some scenarios I have to take a second to think about what part of the image I want to expose for, and if I move the camera an inch in the other direction, that reading can change. So it kind of slows me down, and I have to second guess myself sometimes. At the end of the day though, there were a lot of photos that I really liked. So I've kind of said this like in the past, and I don't know if I've said it on the channel necessarily, but I used to say that like I think 800T is one of those stocks that I'd be willing and happy to shoot in any condition, in any lighting scenario, day or night, interior, exterior, whatever. And recently I've kind of changed my mind about that. Now, I love film stocks that have character, that have somewhat of a unique look to them, and I think that's one of the biggest reasons I keep coming back to 800T. But when we did get that first day of sun in London, which was going to be my first full day of sun in London in 3 trips, I just did not want to shoot with a tungsten balanced film, and you know, my urge was just to shoot Portra 400, and that's what I did. Now, with that said, I do still think that I prefer Cinestill 800T to be exact. I don't really shoot 400D, but I do still prefer 800T for basically every other scenario that's not like a bright sunny day, so like overcast weather and at night, and a lot of interiors as well. I think 800T was great for our time down south by the coast just because it was overcast for most of the time, and we were also shooting in like darker conditions, you know, in blue hours. So I think the tungsten balance also kind of like helped and added to the mood and overall look of those scenes. The halation can also occasionally be distracting, but you know, one of your other options is shooting Portra 800, which is $20 per roll, and you know, I just can't see myself spending $20 on a roll of film. And I know that these Cinestill rolls were provided to me for free by my lab, which I'm very thankful for, but typically I'm always paying for film out of pocket, and if I was paying $20 for a roll, that would just suck. So yeah, I'm not sure if I'm gonna be doing any more Cinestill only or like Cinestill heavy trips in the future, but that doesn't mean that I'm not gonna shoot the stock in general. Even though I do like using it for a lot of things, you know, I've realized that I don't love it in every single scenario, and I just want to be a bit more selective when I do decide to use it. And speaking of being selective, choosing music for my videos has never been easier, and that's thanks to MusicBed. I typically choose what music I'm going to use in my videos before I even start editing, and I have the luxury of doing that because MusicBed has music that really resonates. Every song is hand curated by real people who know what's needed for storytelling, not just random songs chosen by algorithms. Every music licensing platform says they're different, but MusicBed actually is. I want the music to draw my audience into my videos and not distract you with songs that don't fit the narrative. And MusicBed helps me find songs that guide the pacing and emotion of my videos and pair well with my curated visuals. On top of curated music, MusicBed also offers over 150,000 premium sound effects, so you never have to worry about not having the right sound to complement what's happening in your videos. MusicBed's AI search tool also provides you with recommendations based on some of your favorite songs in just seconds. Just type in a song with the vibe that you want for your video, and you'll get a list of music that is really similar. Your videos and stories deserve more than generic music and sound effects. Switch to MusicBed today and start your 14-day free trial. So yeah, that is the end of this one. Big thanks to MusicBed for sponsoring this video. You guys can go check them out at the first link in the description, and also big thanks to Gelatin Labs. But yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.